You've been listening to President Trump discuss a variety of topics, including his administration's response to the coronavirus. He defended it, saying, quote, "We're doing a great job." He also said that the virus will disappear. For more, let's bring in Michael Szanto. He's an economist and foreign policy expert. Michael, what do you make of how the president has addressed the coronavirus so far?
Well, he's in a challenging situation because efforts to contain it don't seem to be working. So we seem to be on the brink of a pandemic, which is very worrisome because it appears to have a mortality rate of approximately 2%.
And one of the other things that we've seen, though, is that the president seems to disagree about how inevitable it is that it's going to really become part of the American population, or something that we have to deal with here. So I'll just ask one more time: how would you say that the president and his administration so far have dealt with the outbreak, and how have the markets responded in turn?
Well, to get back to that original question, then communications has been bad. There's certain things that are uncertain, but the risk is very real. So then moving on to the markets, the market reaction is very understandable. Like, for example, unfortunately, not going to be popular with Uber or Lyft executives. Those companies in particular are very threatened because of the fact that if this is really spreading in the U.S., it would be hard for people to share the same car. So that all the people getting into their car, the drivers and passengers, they would be at risk. So I think there's a very real risk to our markets if this starts to spread in the United States.
And we're seeing the effects on the markets more than just these individual ride-sharing apps or things like that. And so I'm wondering, Michael, what is it about outbreaks that really spook investors and traders?
This is different than other outbreaks we've seen. This is something that we haven't really seen in 100 years if it's not contained, or, as President Trump correctly pointed out, the arrival of spring weather might actually slow it, although that could only be a temporary pause. So we are seeing cities in China closed, and now we're seeing towns in Italy closed. And that could come to the United States as an effort to slow it. We could see ERs and ICUs overwhelmed when you're dealing with a virus with a 1% to 2% mortality rate. So we haven't seen something like that spread with that high of a mortality rate since the Spanish flu pandemic. So let's hope it doesn't become a pandemic, but the risk is very high it will.
So given all of that, have you been surprised by the scale of this large sell-off?
No, I mean, I think that some of it is actually smart, big money. I think it's something that, at some point, 6 months to a year out, we can get through. But it could be very, very disruptive. They are closing schools in Japan, which I think is responsible, because while children, thank God, are not affected by this particular, or not horribly affected, they tend not to get severe cases with this particular virus, they probably can help spread it to their parents and grandparents. And so that's one tactic to slow the spread of it. And I don't think that Japan necessarily is acting very rashly. Hopefully we don't have to do that, but that's the kind of things that we could have to do.
So am I correct in hearing you say that as the global markets continue to fight against the coronavirus and the effects of the coronavirus, that the United States markets and the United States economy may also suffer no matter what the president does?
Absolutely. There's a number of economists who are already saying that this could trigger a recession. After all, we also have a very long economic expansion, so that tends to end at some point. We do have the strongest economy in the world, and we have a strong, robust health system. This could just be really overwhelming if it starts to spread. A diversified portfolio over the long term should be okay. But I think people should be cautious with this, very cautious. And I wouldn't bet against the market falling and try to buy more stock thinking that it will quickly rebound. It could short term, but if this virus starts to spread, then the market could start to drop again.
So let's go macro. How would you rate the current health of the U.S. economy? And does this massive sell-off really indicate that there could be a bigger underlying problem for us?
Yes, there could be a bigger underlying. I think that the U.S. economy is healthy, but of course it's always been susceptible to occasional recession. And the kind of disruptions this type of virus could cause, which we haven't dealt with, in 100 years could be very, very substantial. And the stock market is considered a leading indicator. Sometimes it drops a lot when smart money actually correctly assesses a risk. Although they often worry, not everything they'll worry about will come true. So let's hope this virus starts to fade away. But it is going much stronger than the two other deadly outbreaks of coronaviruses, which were SARS and MERS. Sorry.
Well, you mentioned diversified portfolios. I'm wondering what advice you have for some of our viewers who might be concerned about the effect that this is having on their 401ks.
I think you kind of have to hold your ground because there's always a risk in selling after a sell-off because the market tries to price in the risks, and including things that often don't happen. But people advising to buy on the dips are being probably irresponsible because we're facing an unknown, unprecedented risk. But you have to consider the possibility that's now priced into the market, and that potential risks that might not even happen are also priced, like bad things that the market are worried about rationally. Not all of them are going to happen, but I would not be buying right now. That's my cautious advice. I would just hold where I am and hope for the best. But a diversified portfolio is safer because individual stocks can be hit disproportionately and be far more volatile.
So just hold for right now. Don't buy or don't sell. Michael Szanto, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.